Chapter 13. Yin 0 and Yang 1. Male 1 and female 0. Moral 1 and non-moral 0. Yin and Yang is an ancient philosophy. From the earliest stirrings of Eastern thought, philosophers noticed the fluctuating nature of opposites. Yin and Yang are expressions of the two poles that form the basis of all opposites. They depend upon each other. To have one is to have involvement with the other. Chinese literature is replete with the idea that nature is both male and female, right and wrong, dark and light, good and evil, and so on, to include all pairs of opposites. Eastern philosophers have understood the importance of reaching a balance between and being a part of both opposites. Both extremes must be experienced to know either extreme. The yin emerges from the yang, and the yang emerges from the yin. The symbol representing yang is a horizontal bar, like a 1 turned on its side, and the yin symbol is also a horizontal bar, but broken 2 dashes in the middle. The Chinese method of vertical writing from top to bottom may have influenced this horizontal representation. Notice the similarity of this to the 1 and the 0. The yang, like the 1, is surrounded by nothing to give it identity, and the yin is broken and shows an organization of the open between the broken bar on the either side. This parallels my perception of opposites. Eastern thought, moreover, specifically identifies the idea that objects are built to form, shape, and organize emptiness and void. If Eastern philosophers have already discovered this, then why say more about it? I am not aware of Eastern intellectuals having integrated yin and yang philosophy with the 1 and 0 by showing this duality, 1 and 0, as being the sole source of all opposites and the foundation of natural phenomena. These ancient concepts are, however, a support for the rightness of this binary approach to approximating reality. Combining yin and yang symbols by grouping them on top of each other, the yin and yang philosophy has associated the developing patterns involved with nature and human beings. For example, to show seasonal changes, the yin and yang philosophers produced a circular group of 8 trigrams. A trigram is a group of 3 combinations of the yin of broken lines and the yang of unbroken lines. The extreme of seasonal change is between summer and winter. Winter is depicted by a trigram grouping of 3 all broken lines of yin, and summer by another trigram of 3 unbroken lines of yang. Then the remaining 6 trigrams use other combinations to show the cycles between summer and winter. The balance and symmetry are highly developed. All the trigrams within this circular pattern have opposite trigrams showing the opposite seasons. Seasonal changes show the relationship between the 0 and 1. The yin of winter, with its 3 broken trigrams, shows the open 0 with its empty condition, while the yang of summer, with its 3 unbroken lines, shows the closed 1 with its filled condition. A cyclical pattern is revealed. The Earth's biological viability depends upon the going away process of winter emission to return once more to the togetherness of growth and renewal through summer absorption. This corresponds to and is the empty and fill cycle of the 0 and 1. The empty of winter is dependent upon the summer fill and the fill is dependent upon the empty. This cycle is the Earth's -0 and +1 fluctuation, which influences us and is part of our makeup. The human body also goes through winter and summer fluctuations between empty and fill. Nature's goal is always to fill, but this must be preceded by the empty. Similarly, the winter of the problem is needed to reach the summer of the solution, and the winter of ignorance, 0, to reach the summer of knowledge, 1. The purpose of Chinese medicine is to maintain the flow of life, which is called qi. The parts of the human body are represented by yin and yang. The Chinese physician aims to keep a balance between yin and yang, which keeps the qi of life flowing. My interpretation of what qi represents is a flow between the emptied yin and the filled yang, which maintains a balance between emission, empty, and absorption, fill. The qi of the flow of life is a balanced flow of a 1 to a 0 and a 0 to a 1. The flow of the human body is a flow between the yang of life, 1, and the yin of death, 0. Qi is this necessary oscillation between the 0 of death and the 1 of life. Hunger and starvation increase the yin over the yang, and old age is an imbalance in the reverse direction. In old age, the holes, yin, within us are lost to the debris of unwanted yangs. If the yin of the empty is unavailable, we cannot reach the nourishment of the yang and the filling process. Starvation and the inability to find the yang, 1, of food is a yin to yin or 0 on 0 repulsion. Then the zeros of the human body are the only met by the zeros of no food until in later stages, old age, of our lives, the yang, 1, of food loses the availability of the zeros within our bodies. This is another repulsion of yang on yang, or 1 on 1. Both types, 0 on 0 and 1 on 1, arrive at the same result with a loss of life and the oscillating yin, 0, and yang, 1, of qi. There must be this cyclical pattern of balance between the yin, female, through emission, excretion, and the yang, male, through absorption, ingestion. Corollary number 4 is important to each of us because to understand the significance of the yin, or 0, will give us direction toward increasing our longevity. If we would create a perfect empty, 0, with respect to our system's emission, elimination, process, and also keep the availability of the fill of absorption, food, air, water, there is no reason why we could not live indefinitely. The qi would continue and life would flow on and on. I am suggesting that the secret of life is to continue providing ones for the zeros that have continuing availability. The billions of people on Earth show that we have solved many of the problems of producing the ones for food. The problem of inadequate food production has been solved by industrial nations, but this has led to a new problem. After some 75 years of earlier, humans are losing or have lost the availability of their zeros. They have the 1, but there is no place to put it. The food for absorption remains available, but they have lost the absorber. Their oscillations cannot continue. The 1 to 0 and 0 to 1 of the possible is not available. What has happened? Our organs of elimination, kidney, liver, lungs, large intestine, and veins, although magnificent emptying structures, reach the point where they cannot continue the proper emission necessary for continued absorption. Consider this. If the principle of emission, 0, and absorption, 1, is the basis of life's continuation, then we need to also focus on improving our ability to emit empty. Of course, if we gained more efficient absorption, we would not have as much to emit. Or, if we could absorb less, this would necessitate less emission. But however efficient the input, our organs of elimination in time fail to output efficiently. An efficient output returns us to the zero for the one to input again. As an example of a solution, if we concentrate our knowledge and energy on developing an artificial kidney that is far superior to our own, then it can be used to maintain our spaces and to avoid their loss. At the end of the 20th century, artificial kidney technology is in a stage of relative infancy. To advance this technology is to create better filters to remove the unwanted byproducts of ingestion, absorption. If we can produce filters that will add 50 years to our lives, then we have even more time to make more improvements. This is an example of how we continue solving problems through the development and maintenance of holes to reach the fill. This is done on a limited basis today, but gaining this understanding of the zero allows us to see the full implications of what is necessary for the extension of human life. We clean house for the same reason the body cleans its house. To clean house is to reclaim the spaces to be used again for absorption. The analogy with the human body is that if we allow spaces in our house to become cluttered, it becomes unusable. We either remove the clutter and reclaim the space in our house, or we lose the house to clutter. The same is true for the body of our human house. Remove the clutter or lose it. It is within our grasp to make great progress in this direction once this principle that gives us life can be clearly understood. We come back to this temporary death of the yin in order to renew ourselves with the life of the yang. We put away the old to come to the new. To me, the goal is clear. Through effective maintenance of human zeros, there is no reason individuals cannot live for many centuries. There are always solutions, one, to problems zero, and this is simply one more difficult problem to solve. It becomes possible when humans advance their efficiency and effectiveness to create and maintain zeros and then fill them. Perpetual life can be found in always returning to another empty to reach another fill. The impossible of a one-on-one and zero-on-zero can always be changed to the possible of the 1-to-0 and 0-to-1. It will not be easy, but with a clearly defined goal, a long-term solution is not beyond reach. Male 1 and female 0. In the Hindu religion, the god Shiva is represented as half female yin and half male yang. In a larger sense, all the constructions in nature are part of yin and yang. All containers are created to build the yin 0 so it can reach the yang 1. We differentiate the male and female of our species primarily by how nature built us for protection. Procreation. It takes little imagination to envision why the female represents the 0 and the male represents the 1 in the act of fertilization that brings new life. The female is only empty prior to the fill. With the growth of new life, she is in a positive 1 male condition. Human reproduction has created the primary differences between males and females. All other fluctuations we engage in are the same. Both sexes fill, male, and empty, female, with the same type organs and tissues, and both sexes fill and empty the pathways and containers of civilization. The rules of emission and absorption are carried out and applied in the same way both sexes, except for procreation. The female has this added ability of oscillation, procreation, that males do not. The sexual act is a dramatic example of an oscillation that demonstrates the fundamental base for all other oscillations. The purpose of what we do is to reach the fill of absorption. The question arises, if the fill is the purpose of the sexual act, then why don't we just fill and remain in the filled position? The pleasure is in the fill, and in order to experience it again and again, we come to the empty again and again. This is an elegant expression of principle and the reason for universal action. All structures are designed for the construction of an empty to reach the fill. A female construction is designed to be filled by the male. Some females are only designed to be filled once. But the most successful females continue to empty so they can return to the fill. To reach a fill for ourselves is what we enjoy in life. The empty is what we dislike, but is necessary to return to the fill that we like. To seek alternative positions during sexual intercourse is to search for a better fill for each. The attempt is to absorb better by being absorbed. The better I fill my spaces, the better you fill yours. The same driving force is behind our actions outside of sexual encounters. Our life is devoted to building better females, wholes, with better emptying processes so we can return to the male fill in a more rapid and complete way. Nature continually confronts us with new problems that require us to build new solutions. Our continued existence demands this male and female improvement and is the reason why we evolve. We have named many kinds of receptacles female. This is because their empty, yin, provides space for the fill, yang. Whatever is put into, plugged into, and screwed into, such as a screw turning inside a nut, the filling of the holes changes the female into a male, and a negative becomes a positive. With this new perspective of change, we can become more versatile in our use of opposites. We can apply them to many areas of human interest. All the non-physical identified by the physical is female, and all the physical identified by the non-physical is male. We find one by using the other. To say that an object is female refers to the object's space development through a corresponding male, and to refer to an object as male indicates the object's physical development through a corresponding female. The male is the physical designed for entering the non-physical female. Moral 1 and non-moral 0. Corollary number 8. The foundation and source of all opposites is the physical 1 and non-physical 0, with the resulting forces of attraction 0 to 1 and 1 to 0, and repulsion 0 on 0 and 1 on 1. Corollary number 8 was derived from analyzing a multiple of opposites in nature. This was followed by examining the antonymic nature of morality and immorality. It has led to the development of a new approach to morality that, when practiced, can prevent much of the destruction caused by the practice of traditional concepts of morality. It has been taught that to practice morality is a lofty form of human conduct. The human ideal of moral behavior has included those standards which are said to be ethical, right, proper, virtuous, honorable, noble, honest, and high-minded. Moral action has long been associated with saintly behavior. When an idea, philosophy, opinion, or concept is said to be moral, it conveys the image that these are superlative doctrines beyond reproach. If people are convinced a doctrine is moral and represents the highest degree of rightness, many will believe it should be the most sought-after goal of human action. It is said that this doctrine of moral action should encompass the actions of not just few individuals, but all individuals. Moral attainment has been given such a high priority by some moralists that any action is justified in establishing the moral condition for all humanity. Throughout most of history, the attempt to force the moral idea on the rest of humanity has led to great destruction and bloodshed. Faith and belief in the rightness of the moral ideal has led to the justification of organized terror to impose that ideal. Why has the implementation of the highest and noblest codes of morality led to terror and devastation? In discussing moral with its opposite, I will contrast morality with non-morality. A precise definition of non-morality is key to arriving at a rational concept of morality. In defining moral and non-moral, it is important to attain consistency without demanding that one person's morality be the same for all others. When any morality is forced upon an individual, the force creates coercion and a slave condition for that individual. Whenever force is used to establish morality, it imposes upon society what others have decided is moral. When morality is forced upon individual, he does not have a moral condition of his own choosing. The definitions of moral and non-moral are synonymous with the definitions of freedom and non-freedom, or slavery. Human freedom is the success of reaching human absorption, which is the ability to fill human spaces. Non-freedom, slavery, is the failure to reach absorption and the filling of human spaces. The opposites freedom and non-freedom are interchangeable with the opposites of moral and non-moral. This interchangeability between antonyms is a derivative of the binary 0 and 1 foundation of nature. The definitions of moral and non-moral are designed to replace traditional concepts of morality and non-morality. To remove the devastating consequences of traditional morality will require a fundamental change in thinking. This application of the 1 to moral and the 0 to non-moral has produced surprising results. An unexpected conclusion has emerged while revealing some of the causes that have precipitated such terrible results from traditional morality. This is another example of what can emerge by showing the binary nature of all antonyms. The definitions of moral and non-moral have been derived from the human motion, emission, that is used to fill absorption, human spaces. Moral, 1, is the human action of filling human space, 0, with the physical, 1, of choice. Non-moral, 0, is the human inaction of not filling human space, 0, with the physical, 1, of choice. The 1 that is attached to moral represents a displacement of human spaces by the physical of choice. The 1 of the moral condition emerges from the success of filling the 0. The 0 is attached to the non-moral condition because it represents the empty human space, 0, without the physical of choice. The moral condition is the filled positive state derived from an addition process. The non-moral condition is the empty negative state derived from the subtraction process. Non-moral is the empty condition necessary to reach the moral condition of the fill. The viability of the binary human structure depends upon oscillations between moral and non-moral conditions. Through the availability of the non-moral condition, humans act to reach the moral condition. The 0 of the non-moral state is used to reach the 1 of the moral state. This is a part of the cyclic repetition of freedom and slavery, life and death, solutions and problems, and all antonyms. Non-moral, in contrast to common concepts of immorality, represents the empty zero condition, with a possibility of filling it with a moral condition. The definitions of non-moral, 0, and moral, 1, relate to humans in the same way that problems, 0, and solutions, 1, death, 0, and life, 1, slavery, 0, and freedom, 1, relate to humans. Human success is the condition where the non-moral, 0, is displaced by the moral, 1. And human failure is the condition where the non-moral, 0, is not displaced by the moral, 1. Without the existence of one opposite, there cannot be an arrival to the other opposite. Therefore, both non-moral and moral concepts are natural parts of the human condition. All opposites are related through their common foundation of the binary 0 and 1. A problem of the 0 of the non-moral condition, and the solution is the 1 of the moral condition. The problem represents human inaction or human failures in reaching absorption, moral position of the fill. The solution represents human action or human success in reaching absorption and the moral condition. Without the non-moral condition of the problem, 0, there is no possibility of reaching the moral condition of the solution, 1. There must always be the availability of the empty 0 prior to the fill of the 1. A problem, 0, is a losing posture for humans and is required to reach the solution, 1, of the winning posture. A loss results in the non-moral condition of a problem necessary for reaching the gain of the moral condition of a solution. The loss by departure is necessary for the gain by arrival. The above conclusions are derived from the principle that 0 and 1 applications are a part of all opposites. This places very different definitions on the concepts of moral and non-moral that depart from traditional views. This new view redefines the concepts of moral and non-moral, immoral, with the aim of limiting the destructive actions taken by humans in the name of morality. An important step in this direction will come with the understanding that each individual oscillates between his own moral and non-moral states for his own survival. To label one person as predominantly moral and another as predominantly non-moral is incorrect. Every individual has his own balance between moral and non-moral states. The moral and non-moral definitions are precise. All individuals oscillate between both moral and non-moral states for survival. Everyone uses inaction, non-moral, to arrive at action, moral. These definitions of moral and non-moral identify the oscillations necessary for life. In contrast, the traditional concepts of morality are directed toward creating a world where only moral conditions prevail. It has been commonly held that the goal of life is to reach only a state of morality. The idea of restricting our lives to only the moral ideal has led to fanatical attempts to force that morality upon others. Many have claimed that if they cannot convince you or the correctness of their morality in this life, then they must impose that morality upon you, or you will suffer the consequences in the next life. The most destructive prejudices have been held by those who are convinced that the way they fill their spaces is the way everyone else should fill them. Those who invade the property and person of others are traditionally considered to be non-moral, immoral, and responsible for imposing a loss upon others. However, by declaring that the actions of the invaders of property are non-moral, This may eliminate the individual's feelings of responsibility for protecting his property. He may conclude it was entirely the invader's fault that his property was stolen or destroyed. Where it is believed that the problem is entirely caused by the non-moral actions of the invader, then it may also be believed that the solution is to use physical force against the invader. The solution to the problem, it is said, is to deal with the one responsible for the attack upon property. However, apprehending, convicting, and jailing the culprit is not the solution. The responsibility of the owner must not be overlooked. The owner must bear the responsibility for his loss because he placed his property in a position that allowed its seizure. If we perceive the prime problem of insecurity to be pervasive theft, then the only solution may appear to be the elimination of the thief. But this approach overlooks the owner, who provided the possibility of a successful attack upon his property in the first place. The owner allowed the problem, and therefore the solution lies in the hands of the owner. By placing the sole or prime responsibility upon the thief, the solution to the problem appears to occur when the thief is put away or decides to end his thieving ways. However, stopping one thief by force will not stop other thieves if the property remains unprotected. It is difficult to convince thieves to end their thieving when all they see is unprotected property for the taking. In reality, the more efficient solution is for the owner to place his property and person in a place unexposed to attack. Through greater security, this minimizes or eliminates the cause of the problem by not allowing it to happen. It is important to realize that property protection is never complete or perfect. The means to protecting life and property is learned and understood through our failure to protect it. Incompetence and inefficiency is always a necessary condition to reach higher levels of competency and efficiency. Non-control of property is a nature condition of some place and some time. No one possesses perfect knowledge of how to protect himself and his property. Through natural assaults, fire and flood, and human assaults upon property, we learn how to develop better solutions for property protection. We learn of our ignorance of the ineffectiveness of our security through aggression against our property. Once our ignorance is recognized, we can then replace it with the essential knowledge of successful protection. Ignorance is the necessary non-moral condition that allows the successful attainment of the moral condition through greater knowledge. The reach for improved moral conditions is spurred by non-moral conditions, which are the ongoing oscillations of human survival. Within the parameters of these new definitions, let us re-examine the traditional concepts of morality. To call someone immoral is often an individual's attempt to place the cause of his personal problems on someone else. Present concepts of immorality, non-morality, often shelter the individual from being accountable for his own security. The assertion that others are non-moral tends to absolve the individual of the necessity of considering his own non-morality. When others are thought to be the source of the problem, the individual can now negate the fact that they are the source of the problem. The focus is only on what is considered to be the non-morality of others. By attacking others regarded as non-moral, immoral, individuals believe they can arrive at a moral state for themselves. This often becomes a justification for wars and destruction. In pursuing the destruction of what is considered to be immoral, non-moral, everything else may be destroyed in the process. In contrast, let us consider the idea that moral and non-moral are self-created through the action and inaction of each individual. A loss is the non-moral inaction of being unable to fill our spaces. A gain is the moral action of being able to fill our spaces. The actions of others may place us in a non-moral condition, but we made the condition possible. The elimination of the non-moral condition is the prime responsibility of the one whose property has been compromised. To destroy the invaders and attackers of property is not a workable solution. The solution lies in the prevention of loss through attacks upon persons and property. If we merely remove or eliminate those who attack and steal, in time they will be replaced by others who attack and steal. The incarceration of criminals is never a long-term solution and rarely a short-term solution. The efficient and moral solution is to place property and persons where they cannot be harmed. The one who destroys is not the problem, but the one who allowed it. Only when problems become our own problems can we begin creating our own solutions. What happens when a thief steals something? The definitions of moral and non-moral indicate that the successful thief has reached a moral state for himself, while the victim who has lost his property has reached a non-moral state. For the victim, the loss of his property creates the void of a non-moral zero of his empty space instead of the moral one of his space filled with property. Due to his loss, the victim is now in a non-moral condition. He can then return to a moral condition by replacing the loss. It is the owner's space that is filled when the loss is replaced. When individuals acquire property, it is in their interest to acquire the responsibility to maintain, protect, and retain their property. Property destruction and loss can occur for many reasons other than human action. When floods and fires destroy property, we do not label the water and fire as being non-moral. When the owner's property is damaged by either acts of nature or acts of man, it is the owner who did not take effective precautions for the protection of his property. There are solutions for the prevention of loss, and it is the owner's responsibility to provide them. I am suggesting that a non-moral label be placed upon the one who sustained the problem of loss by allowing the problem in the first place. The value of a problem is to provoke a solution. We will fail to create solutions to our problems if we persist in believing that someone else has the problem and is the cause of the problem when it is our problem. It may seem preposterous to place the victim who has been attacked into a non-moral condition and the successful thief into a moral condition. However, it cannot be denied that the thief was successful in filling his spaces with the victim's property, while the victim was unsuccessful in filling his spaces because his property was stolen. It is useful for the victim to accept the non-moral role if he can understand that he made the problem possible. It is important to realize that the moral condition of the successful thief is a necessary challenge for the continuing evolutionary advancement of humans. For our intellectual growth to continue, nature must continue to challenge by exposing our weaknesses and vulnerabilities. Without the successful attack on property, we will not be motivated to devise better methods of protection. Knowledge of our vulnerability comes after our defenses are breached. If we ever solve the problems of human aggression, there will always be the problems of losses caused by natural events such as earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes, and much more. It is only through our incompetence, losses, and failures that we are challenged to reach competence, gains, and successes. Learning and progress depend upon the existence of new non-moral states for acquiring new moral states. Security consultants are often hired by companies to expose their unguarded and unprotected areas. The aim is to enhance security and prevent harmful acts of nature or of a man. Security companies may even hire former thieves to use their expertise to discover defensive weaknesses in advance of a problem. In this case, a former thief can provide value from his past moral conditions, success at filling his spaces. He now provides solutions for others instead of problems. The question arises, should a human goal be to reach an ultimate moral condition where all people are in control of 100% of their property? Man's evolutionary progress has been dependent upon his not having been given control of his property by nature. For this progress to continue, it is essential that man be continually confronted with the possibilities for a lack of control and loss of control. Understanding that we cannot control creates the possibility of providing better controls and protection for persons and their property. These problems of the non-moral condition present the challenges of life necessary to reach moral conditions and solutions. Problem solving is the basis for our continuing evolutionary progress. This is the essence of Darwinian evolution. The ever-presence of problems and our ability to solve them have enabled us to evolve to our present structural status. Our species has developed its characteristics by responding to continuing problems with continuing solutions, and the continuing assault upon human property by both humans and nature is necessary for human growth and development. Continued human growth follows continued aggression against us that brings new forms of aggression with new challenges. The fact that we are confronted with primarily new problems indicates that we have put away old problems. Solutions eliminate old problems while providing the necessary knowledge to solve new problems. For humans, Darwinian evolution is the survival of those who successfully compete for filling their spaces with the physical of choice. The cyclic oscillations of the filled moral condition and the empty non-moral condition following each other represent the frequencies necessary for all life to continue. Emission is used to reach absorption of the filled, one, moral condition, and emission is used to reach the empty, zero, of the non-moral condition. Biological competition is the competing process for the zero of absorption. Evolution becomes more comprehensible by introducing the oscillating zeros and ones involved in our binary universe. A moral imperative exists for the survival of all objects. An object's response to changing moral and non-moral conditions is adaptations and necessitates evolutionary structural changes. The solutions to problems caused by humans represent only a small part of the solutions we must reach for survival. Since the Iron Age, tool makers have known that rust can attack their iron tools. Oxygen successfully fills its spaces with iron, creating the iron oxide known as rust. When unchecked, rust eventually destroys all human tools made of iron. This places us in a non-moral empty condition, preventing us from filling our space with a valuable tool. The problem created by nature's attack upon iron tools has been partially solved through the development of protective coatings to prevent the successful absorption of oxygen. Oxygen's absorption of iron, like a thief's absorption of property, renders the iron unavailable to its owners. This example demonstrates a weakness and a loss for humans, leading to strength and a gain for humans. Labeling oxygen as non-moral and waiting for its morality is not a solution. There was no attempt to destroy oxygen as a solution to rust, and naming oxygen as a thief, though true, is unproductive. We realize that non-exposure is security for iron and is the effective solution. the problem was solved by making iron unavailable to an assault by oxygen. This same strategy offers a solution to the problem of human invaders and thieves who attempt to absorb our property. The solution is to make the property unavailable to thieves and invaders. Successful methods for approaching problems brought about by nature are similar to those brought about by humans. Whether humans or nature unveil our weaknesses by destroying our property, such invasions will continue to occur, spurring us in new directions towards new progress. Successful stealing is a moral condition for the thief and a non-moral condition for the victim of theft. But why place the label of non-moral on the one who allowed the theft? Because non-moral is a concept of human failure. Therefore, why should the concept of non-moral failure be placed upon the one who was successful, the thief? The thief has provided an indirect value for the one who lost his property. The loss creates a problem and a challenge necessary for reaching a solution. The solution is how to successfully protect property from human theft. Instead of attacking the thief after the theft, the owner places his property in a position where it cannot be stolen. Theft is possible only where property is insecure. Through theft, the owner becomes aware of his property's vulnerability, and he can now reach the solution, protection. The marketplace offers multiple solutions for property protection that would be unavailable without the original failure or inability to protect property. The efficient and effective solution for property protection is for the owner to provide its protection. This eliminates theft without eliminating the thief. Humans prefer doing those things that bring them success and the moral condition. If thieves are unable to steal, or if the cost of theft becomes too high, they will do something else. The solution to robbery is to provide an environment where robbers cannot succeed. It is important to realize that the protection of property and life is an ongoing problem. If we should ever solve the problem of man attacking his fellow man, then there must be continuing problems from other sources. Without a non-moral condition, these challenges, solutions, and progress will be lost. The non-morality of the losing situation is necessary for the morality of the winning situation. Without individual losses from the failure, non-moral, to fill spaces, there is no possibility of individual gains from the successful filling of spaces. To lose is a result of ignorance, and to win is a result of knowledge. There is no survival without using ignorance to reach knowledge. People point to the immoral actions of others as the cause of the world's problems. All of society's ills are believed by many to be derived from the immoral actions of their fellow human beings. However, the problems of humanity only become entrenched problems when those who really have the problems find no solutions because they believe it's not their problem. The non-moral condition includes only those people who do not provide solutions to their own problems. If the solution is perceived to be found in waiting for others to stop their immoral actions, then there will be no solution. Those who wait for solutions are non-moral because their non-actions leave them in a non-moral condition. When the thief has successfully filled his spaces with the owner's property, the thief has the solution and the owner has the problem. With his loss comes the opportunity to add to the success of civilization through better property protection. It is incumbent upon the one with a problem to find the solution. A property solution, moral state, through security places the would-be invaders of property in a position where they have the problem, non-moral state. Robbers and thieves can no longer reach a solution by filling their spaces with the property of others. The non-moral condition is now on the would-be invaders. The thief is in the empty, zero state, non-moral. His means of support and survival must be reached through another means and other than theft. The owner's successful property protection limits the thief's options to productive solutions for his survival. The former thief's new direction may create protective solutions for sale in the marketplace. This is an example of how creating protective solutions for ourselves can lead to changing the moral direction of others. By solving a property problem, the owner directs the thief in the opposite direction toward a new moral condition. The former thief's new direction may create a new moral condition that may be purchased in the marketplace by the very owner who has originally victimized by the thief. The owner's solution to theft through protection and the former thief's solution to survival through production may both be sold in the marketplace for their benefit and the benefit of others. The marketplace is a moral place because only moral conditions are traded. When non-moral conditions are changed into moral conditions, this produces solutions that can be sold. The marketplace is kept viable and changing by the continuing new non-moral states problems, leading to new moral states solutions. Humans must continue to confront new losing processes in order to create new winning processes for sale in the market. The secret of durable success is to put away old losses to reach new losses for their conversion into new gains. The market represents inputs, one, of individual morality realized by replacing individual outputs, zero of non-morality. A free market is a moral imperative for human survival. The ability to reach and trade the moral condition through the non-moral condition will propel us beyond the solar system. When using these new definitions of morality, the statement that someone's actions are immoral, non-moral, becomes an internal contradiction. The concept of action indicates the successful act of emission leading to absorption. Absorption through emission is action and represents arrival at the moral state. And the non-moral state occurs when action reaching absorption does not occur. Non-moral is the necessary inaction prior to the action, emission to absorption, necessary to reach the moral state. Non-moral is the inaction of humans to fill, one, their spaces, zero. To be non-moral is to be in a state of inaction. To force a moral condition on others is destructive in the long term because the enforcer determines an individual's action and not the individual. The enforcer's moral code is forced upon others. If enough people are forced to servitude through such enforcement, this drastically limits new moral conditions for the marketplace. A slave's failure to solve his problems limits the creation of new moral conditions in the marketplace. The slave master has unknowingly eliminated benefits for himself and others of purchasing new solutions from those he has enslaved. The slave master destroys his market for himself and everyone else. It becomes an unseen problem for everyone who cannot participate in the solutions of others. By allowing others to create their own solutions, moral conditions, we can profit by purchasing these solutions in the marketplace. By forcing a moral condition upon others, we lose the creative potential of their own independent moral states. Through slavery, we miss the opportunity of becoming part of their moral condition. The marketplace creates the ability for individuals to trade value and learn from each other through trade. Without trade, most humans cannot continue to exist. Humans are dependent upon the market for survival. How can the new knowledge be reached where people are forced to accept and use only old knowledge? There is no continuing market without adding new knowledge to old knowledge. Humans need each other for the solutions, moral state, necessary for survival. Survival is a moral imperative. Continuing accessibility to new states of morality is mandatory for survival. The moral direction is a survival direction. Structures must improve or disappear. This is nature's strategy for ongoing evolution. For human progress to continue, it must always move in a moral direction. The moral direction can only be seen through the non-moral. This is another way of stating that the one's direction can only be seen through the zero. The purpose of human life is to reach a moral condition of a fill for ourselves. This means we live in a world where challenges always exist and provide a reason for existence. This includes continually finding better approaches to morality. This new identity for non-moral and moral recognizes that we cannot always be right. Going in the wrong direction only means that we cannot always go in the right direction. To ignore, however, our non-moral states will eventually destroy us. The wrong road is the non-moral condition of non-arrival. But without the wrong road, it is impossible to find and reach the right road for arrival and survival. There are infinite possibilities for reaching the moral condition. If man does not survive, it will not be dictators, rulers, tyrants, and oppressors who have caused this demise. Nature's blame will fall upon each individual who was unable to find or create the solution to his or her problem. It is incumbent upon every individual who has a problem to attempt its solution. One lone individual's solution can lead to the survival of millions and even the species. This has already been demonstrated in science and technology, where a relatively few innovators have solved problems for themselves that led to the survival of hundreds of millions who would not have survived. We must never underestimate our possibilities for reaching new moral conditions. There will never be a solution to provide permanent human survival. Survival always means the possibilities of non-survival. The moral imperative is ongoing. New survival techniques will always yield new problems and the possibilities of non-survival. The longer it takes to reach a solution to a problem, the greater opportunity the problem has to grow in size. The rise of dictators and tyrants is only reached after long periods of unsolved problems involving the failure to protect property and persons from political attacks. Centuries of existing with non-moral conditions give rise to enormous problems that result in pervasive destruction. The solution lies in focusing on individual responsibility for solving the individual's problems and not the invaders and oppressors who have taken advantage of individual weakness and the failure to protect themselves from invasion and oppression. It is impossible for every individual to solve all of his problems. This is why it is necessary to create a marketplace for the conversion of these impossibilities into possibilities. We provide value for the market through the moral conditions we can create, which allows us to purchase the moral conditions created by others, which we cannot create. The non-moral condition of problems must be ongoing for human survival. Problems are not the problem. The real problem is created by the failure to continue the oscillation from problems to solutions. Our continued existence shows that we have continued to oscillate between the negative of non-morality and the positive of morality. But some problems have been around for so long without solutions that there is no problem/solution frequency. For human survival, there must be an ongoing frequency between these negative and positive conditions. An example is the balanced frequency for survival between the moral condition of food absorption and the non-moral condition after waste emission. Without this appropriate time frame for the cycles between problems and solutions, we face extinction. As more individuals become involved in reaching their own morality, the possibilities for species survival increase. This theory covers a broad territory of knowledge that includes many areas of human action that are yet to be discussed. There is opportunity for others to broaden the integration of the zero. It is time to publish, which is always an invitation to test and criticize that which is offered. Whatever the response, it has been a mental adventure in searching for the secrets that unlock the mysteries of the binary universe. 0 to 1 plus 1 to 0, action, plus 0 on 0 plus 1 on 1, repulsion, yields purpose.